Greetings. Welcome yet again to another powerful broadcast of AST Speaks, Building a New Legacy, with your host, Queen Mother, Dr. Chenzira. It's a wonderful opportunity during this time. There's so many ways in which we can bring truth, justice, order, reciprocity, balance, divine righteousness, and harmony. All of that in 4 letters. The principle of Ma'at. I'm going to say it one more time. Truth, justice, order, reciprocity, balance, divine righteousness, and harmony. 4 letters. Ancestral principle of Ma'at. So tonight we're going to have an opportunity to talk about a number of things that are happening. We know this is the season. People begin to get into the spirit of giving, the spirit of love and peace, and what is it? Joy to the world. And we're doing our best, our utmost best, to be able to embrace that regardless of what may surround, what may distract, and even some of the areas that we would like to complain the most about. I'm also joined tonight with one of the most passionate, engaging entrepreneurs that I've met in a long time. And I felt it would be a joy and a privilege when we speak as leading Black queens in media, through the lens of visionaries like Queen Angela, whoop, 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 bringing this type of the crew podcast energy on the airwaves. So I'm also grateful for the support from our other sisterin, others that are joining with us, listening, tuning in, having an opportunity to see this type of for some, conversation. Many times people will just hear me say a versation. We're not trying to con anyone. Our intention is a very sacred intention. Our drive is so that when we speak of our women folk, that we're speaking of what has been coined and trademarked in one of my businesses as new woman rising. Pause on that. New woman rising, and being able to support one another, embrace one another, hold one another up when we can, be there if we need the shoulder on the left side, the right side, or if we need a very firm and direct holding of our sacred spaces and our sacred soul self so that we can get things done. November brings a lot of really powerful energies because it's coming out of the autumn season, moving into the winter season. Some people refer to it as fall. I prefer to use a more empowering word, autumn. We love to see the change in certain temperate zone spaces where the leaves are falling in a multiplicity of colors that are very radiant, very loving. It also is a time where we tend to overlook some of the historical context of what happens during this time. So I'll use where we are here in St. Croix, Virgin Islands of the US, Caribbean space, connections with the 48 contiguous US on this side of the Atlantic. Our observances usually start in November 1st as Virgin Islands Liberty Day, locally known as Bull and Bread, but it's grounded in the formulation and the history of the first free press owned by persons of African descent, Black people, seen through the lens of David Hamilton Jackson, D. Hamilton Jackson, a icon in the Virgin Islands, here in St. Croix and throughout the Virgin Islands. So that's inclusive of St. Croix, the cultural capital, St. Thomas, identified as the formal capital, the shipping capital as well, and St. John, what they call Love City. And we can't exclude Water Island. So we're really spending a lot of time. Hey, 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 Sister Queen Patrice Scrimble. We're looking forward to being able to have that type of conversation tonight where we talk about some of the things that are historical, some of the pieces that are linked to our women folk and working together, and also about entrepreneurship. And then we're going to talk about the book that has just come forward. So we're going to save that for a moment. With that being shared, I really would like to welcome, before I even go further, our illustrious guest, right? Sister Queen Stormy Gordon, who is my my sister friend. I work on the ride or live. I know people like to say ride or die, but I'm gonna focus on we're gonna ride and live together. And we've had the honor and privilege of doing certain travels together, and she's also my illustrious business partner like no other, with a passion to really help families, to help communities establish intergenerational wealth in a variety of ways. So, with that, I just would like to say welcome, greetings, Sister Queen Stormy. And thank you for joining us here on our broadcast.
Oh wow! I'll tell you, that was you making me blush there. You know, Chinzera, Kahina. Thank you so much. That was a very delightful introduction. I thank you. Let me throw it back at you, Sister Queen Mother. I'm gonna tell you what, Dr. Chen, you are inspiring, which is the reason I am feeling very humbled and grateful for being on this format with you and your illustrious guest and strong-minded, strong woman, right? So yeah, let's kick this off. You know,
Absolutely, absolutely. Because we know how we talk, so we can make this so that persons can know that here in this Caribbean space with American flavor and
yes.
a lot of indigenous African cultural global vibes, we get an opportunity to really embrace a variety of things. And I really would love for you to share, some of your passions, some of the drive that you have on being an entrepreneur. And we let's start at the how did we get in this environment? How did we get here?
How do we get in this environment?
Yeah, how did we get here?
Well, you know what, Dr. Chen, it's very simple. If you want better, you go seek better.
Mhm.
I am a firm believer that when something isn't working, something isn't making you happy, you are the only one responsible for changing your circumstance. But the circumstances are changed by the tools that are made available to you. And like you and I had a discussion much earlier, I go back biblically because I believe all my journey in my almost 59 years has been definitely at the forefront of what my creator created me for. My background history is I'm a critical care step down nurse of 37 years. I served communities, I served the public, and I've served worldly as my deceased husband was a military veteran. And one of these things that never struck me was the word entrepreneurship. It was never in my forethought, never thought about it, never even desired it, because I came from that culture that said, go to school, get educated, go into debt, so that I had to work 40 plus hours a week for 40 years of my life to get 40% of what I worked hard for to make others rich. It was in 2020 when I decided to retire after my 30 plus year career in nursing, being too young to be retired, but I put in the time. And it was with that this opportunity to be an entrepreneur, which I had never been before in my life, was shared with me. I did it for selfish reasons. I wanted to be an entrepreneur in a $1 trillion industry called travel because I love to travel. I live on the island of St. Croix.
What?
I had to travel here because I loved it here. But guess what? My children, my grandchildren, my family's in the States. Bred, born, and raised Pittsburgh. I don't know if there's any Steelers fans on here, but I'm going to be a Yankee for a minute. Go Steelers. Now, that being said, needed to be able to travel to live my best life, to get where I needed to be during that pandemic. I needed it to be affordable. Entrepreneurship came about with me being able to own a home based but not homebound business in travel. Honestly, Dr. Chin, I said no when the opportunity was first shared with me because it was something I could afford to do. I could go on Expedia, I could go on One Travel, I can go on Google, I could call a friend, find me the best ticket. Where did you find? It was not only until I decided to retire from my position in life as a nurse that I needed to make residual income so that I could cover my bills, but I knew I wanted to do it from home. I became a mompreneur. I became a memopreneur because the money that I started to gain and earn from this travel industry is what I used during the pandemic to help take care of my children who were deemed unessential in the States until someone decided they needed to be essential. I became an entrepreneur real quick when it meant survival for me and my family. Entrepreneur to me became what I needed because I couldn't count on no man, no woman, no employer to make sure that me and my family were taken care of. But it wasn't until 2023 where this woman that sits before you, humbled in her career of nursing, doing everything I could for others, got hit with the worst and most devastating news. And that was that my husband of 35 years was going to die from his metastatic prostate cancer. There was nothing to be done but to wait for the Lord to transition and bring him home. While I sat by his side, up until he took his very last breath, Dr. Chin, and I mean his last breath in my arms, in our home, I didn't pay a single bill because it was not my concern. And as a woman, honoring my vow till death us do part, it wasn't important. But what I found as an entrepreneur, once he had passed and the dust had settled, was a business as an entrepreneur, as I helped position others to be an entrepreneur, just like myself in the same industry. The residual income covered my debts, my bills were being paid, and I was sitting at home while my husband was dying, which is where I needed to be. So entrepreneurship it's biblical, Dr. Chen. And when I say that, I go back to verses that I had mentioned to you much earlier, where the smallest weapon put in our hands by our Lord and Savior, by Yahweh, whoever it is you praise and worship, the weapon put in our hands is only as strong as that provided it. And when I say it's biblical, as I shared with you earlier, Honorable Queen Mother, Dr. Chen, I like saying that, right? You got Judges chapter 15, verse 16. Honestly, we're talking about Samson.
Bring it. Bring it.
Samson, a man of God, but a man nonetheless, was able to destroy a Philistine army with nothing but a fresh donkey jawbone. That is not a weapon that any man or woman would choose to go to war. But yet, being put in the hands by his Lord and Savior, it made it all powerful.
Mm-hmm.
We got Moses. He had a stick. Some people call it a rod, some people call it a staff. But from the blessings of our Lord and Savior, that very stick became a weapon that literally wiped out an Egyptian army, that opened the Red Seas. You have 1 Samuel 17, verse 53. David, a young, scrawny sheep herder, runs with nothing short of a little rubber band stuck to a stick with a rock, flung it at Goliath, a giant amongst giants, one who made his nation shake, killed him. It wasn't from his strength, it was from the Lord and Savior that put that very rock, that very stick with that band in his hand. So back in 2020, my Lord and Savior whispering in my ear when I first said, no, you better do this. I did it. And this entrepreneur grew a very inexpensive business, a very small home based business, into the income that allowed me to sit at my husband's side, allowed me to help sustain my children while they were deemed unessential until the government decided they were. My children will never have to wait on a stimulus check because I built a business with like minded people so that I can will this business to my heirs. So, entrepreneur is what we make it. The tool is only by the strength of our Lord and Savior. And if He puts it in your hands, I suggest you use it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All
Honorable
righty,
Dr.
all right, all righty, all righty, Sister Queen Stormy. You know, we have a saying around here, rolling with Stormy, because the passion and the love of all that brings illuminated spirit to the forefront. And again, English is, and I use my sister Dr. Sandra phrase, and for those that aren't familiar, just go to SISDR.com. You're gonna thank me later. And she has a saying, English is not our my first language, because sometimes we get caught up in the wording of things and then we miss out on the sacred intention and the essential meaning of things. And many times we're saying the same thing but through a different lens. We may be jumping to a same point, final destination, but our point of departure and the technique, strategy, language uses that we have to get there are quite, they may appear different, but it's
Mhm.
just 8.1 billion people on the earth. It's anticipated that we're not going to all agree. And sometimes we don't even disagree well, right? Even though we keep saying
Facts.
you have to learn how to agree to disagree. But many times that's a, it sounds better than how it happens, right? So I'm grateful for you just sharing that part of the legacy journey, the intergenerational wealth building, the type of networking and the ability that you have had to be able to spend those closing earthly days and times with your beloved husband of more
Yeah.
than 35 years. Yeah.
But
And
Dr. Chen, may I reiterate one of the
read
most
this.
important things is that you don't completely make entrepreneurship about self.
Mhm.
You're only as successful as the people that you help, period. And
Who's
entrepreneurship shouldn't be self wealth.
okay? Thank you for sharing that clarity. Thank you for sharing that, because that's the part. Again, some persons look at entrepreneurship through a space of individualism, and the one is very insular. And some people look at entrepreneurship through a lens of only as a capitalist, imperialist type drive. And instead of seeing it more, as you said, for that wider circle, for the, not just for you, but just how you highlighted how you did what you've done for your family, for your children, for you to be with your husband in his final moments. And then to be able to help families, help. So again, we think about it, we're thinking of the self that's able to do things, yes, to be able to help families, starting with their own, and then being able to help other families, or let me shift that, other individuals to then help their families. And then those families, it builds community, it builds society, nation, and all of that. So the intention of some of these activities and programs and initiatives are so that we can actually build. And again, when we speak of AST speaks, we're talking about those ancestral, ancient, sacred traditions in contemporary times
Mhm,
that
mhm,
allow for us to speak truth to power, but with actionable deliverables. And so, for persons that don't know the hashtag actionable deliverables. And yes, it's trademarked. So I think it's really important that persons recognize that when we're speaking of entrepreneurship, we're speaking of just how Sister Queen's Mother Stormy put it in regards of it's not just about the individual. I'd like you to share some of the ways in which you've been able to expand and explore various businesses, because I know you love to travel, and I know I will never live down the invitation that you graced me with to travel with you and other sister queens with the girlfriendism circle and much more with another one of our business partners, Sister Queen Dr. Numa, to
mhm,
go to Bali. It's okay. We're going to be gentle. We're live, and but the way that you were able to use that as a opportunity to really continue to market some of the other activities you do as a travel business owner and as a person that is helping build businesses and helping other people understand better than that. Embrace the benefits of
mhm,
entrepreneurship beyond the individual self, but for the greater good. I would love for you
mhm.
to speak to some of that as well, Sister Pam. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, when, like I said earlier, my first initial um, liking to this opportunity was about self, and me and mine. And that's normal, right? I mean, I was a mom. It was hard times in 2020. We all remember.
Mhm.
But as a nurse here on St. Croix, to be exact, I watched people suffer at the hands of lack of government concern for health and wealth, for lack of compassion, for lack of money. I watched people not take their medication because they had to pay the money to come to a physician visit. They had to pay that copay. It was breaking my heart. I was frustrated when treatments couldn't be rendered because someone's insurance got cut during the pandemic because the business shut down. And we'd have to bring them into the office to send them to the emergency room to have them return back 15 hours later with the emergency room bracelet and never receiving treatment. So, with this opportunity, what was brought to my attention as I watched people suffer was that I was able to save on what I was doing anyway. And people needed to find a way to earn and save on things they were doing anyway. And that's when this opportunity that I'm a part of became essential that I share it, regardless of my own life circumstances, regardless of what was happening in my life, because I knew what help I was getting as an entrepreneur in this industry was helping me. So, why wouldn't I want to share that so that it would help others? Because honestly, we all go through life. We all have to go through something. And it's nice to have that backup plan. That woman who can't take off of work because she needs to make enough money because she's a single mom, but gets told she has to go home because her babysitter's either leaving or her baby was sniffling, might have COVID. We can't let it come to the daycare. People were hurting so bad. I had never I had never seen nothing like it. And I was a nurse through N1H1, HIV, SARS. I had never seen nothing like this, where people were afraid to help people because you coughed. Grandparents couldn't keep grandbabies while parents went to work because what? They get pneumonia and they die. This was a rough time, and people were at home. So guess what? I showed them how they were able to work from home, where people were still living. The world was still traveling during COVID. They weren't vacationing, but they were traveling. I watched planes take off with St. Croix every single day.
That's right.
I watched hotels open up half capacity, so people paid higher to go to the hotels because they knew they was going to be able to have peace and quiet for a change and not a packed hotel. And I help people, I position them on the money making side of just that. We live in the Virgin Islands. We watch people pay $3,000 a week to lay in our backyard. But yet you got persons making those beds, cleaning those rooms, wiping those toilets that can't afford to stay there. That does not make sense, Dr. Chen. It doesn't make sense. I didn't like it. I didn't agree with it. So I fought against it. And I did it by making the very industry that allows people to bust their backside in this industry stay broke. I showed them how to monetize it. And we raised up the VI doing just that. We now have one of the strongest teams in the Virgin Islands. And I'm very honored to say, because I have a humble people who said, you know, if you're going to lay in my backyard, let me get compensated for it.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. And
That's where we're. Mhm.
that's powerful. That's a powerful testimony because many times persons have not had the opportunity to see the value in investing in self and family that benefits other persons and their families and therefore strengthens the community and does what? Builds this intergenerational legacy that is linked to wealth, linked
Mhm.
to health, and linked to balance and harmony. Like there's so many different components that you spoke to that I would be remiss to miss out on any of those. So I'm going to take a moment. This is when I said I was going to do the infomercial, right? So hopefully everyone can see. I'm going to try my best to bring it to my footprints in the sands of time, edited by none other than Sister Queen Angela Thomas Smith. Boop, 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 boop. We've had an opportunity to put things together. This Legacy Chronicles, a journey through time and eternity. I'm really honored to be one of the contributors. There were many, and I like taking times when I see publications like this that we get an opportunity to be part of to just give our listeners that can easily go to Amazon and look for Footprints in the Sands of Time, the Legacy Chronicles, a journey through time and eternity. And you can just listen to the table of contents. This is the infomercial. Shadows of the past, echoes of love, whispers of nature, dreams and illusions, journeys of the soul, quests for meaning, and in the last section, footprints of the future. And what was really touching in all of this was just the overarching support and the marketing and the branding and the rebranding and the sharing of the same type of what we may know as susu or Han, where we share in what we provide in these particular publications. And there's a whole network that I encourage persons to keep looking. You know, there were some other pieces on seeds of immortality and just footprints in general. I think that there were so many different opportunities, and I'm still learning. I said, okay, I see in here there's advertisements even for book 3 on eternal echoes. So persons keep in mind there's a lot of Words sound power, strength, voices of upliftment that are connected, linked to this legacy, and we're building it together. May appear to be one person at a time, but each person, like we say, each one teach one, while each one heal one, right? We're always doing that to bring it to the forefront. And I always keep saying I'm looking at the poet lineup for just the section on Shadows of the Past, and it's of course Sister Queen Angela, Melanie Johnson, Poetic Movement, Leslie Gloria Smith, Simone Williams Young, Rolanda Pyle, Chinera Osborne, Liselle Bowder, Yasim Wells, Glendoria Boyd, Daphne Hampton, Mirhada Bradford, Tammy Nicole Myers, yours truly, Queen Mother, Dr. Chensira Davis Kahina, Katura Hughes, and Cornell Jackie Drummer. And that's just in the first section. And as we move through the evening, perhaps we'll get through all 7 sections. And whatever we miss, we're going to make sure that it is shared in other broadcasts, other networks, because the piece that I wrote for that section is called Yo Recuerdo, which is Spanish for I remember. And I'm not going to recite tonight. We're going to save that for another broadcast because we have a guest, and I always like to highlight some of the vibes with the guests. But just let's keep in mind we're talking about remembering, remembrance, how this links to that vibration of women working together, empowering one another, respecting one another, embracing integrity and care, and healing amongst one another for the greater good. And again, it doesn't mean we leave our men. We're just making sure that we are strong enough together to be able to do what women customarily do. We nurture, we excel, we strengthen, we heal. And as our sister queen Stormy has shared, we, well, how you say we take that job on and do what? I'm gonna keep coming back. From the time you started using those different metaphors, I said, all right. And I think it's really, really grateful how you've shown that in the vernacular that you're familiar and what has worked and provided spiritual strength and empowering energy and illuminated qualities for you, how you've been able to keep that light no matter what challenges, obstacles, what's the D word, distractions, whether they appear on 2 foot or slithering, whatever, that you're able to keep the illumination, keep the God force, keep the energy of the Creator, our Almighty Creator, our omnipotent, omnipresent Creator at the center of what you do. With that being said, see how we close out those infomercials? Ooh, shock. Okay, we keep it rolling. With that, I'd like us to unfold another layer of our lotus flower that's opening up and expanding. What are what would be, because I've heard you say this before, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you passionate in the business? And I would love for you to, because we can speak freely, to share a tidbit. I'm not looking for the whole presentation, which I know you can do because I've watched you do some launches. But I would love for you to speak to the businesses of which you are an owner as well.
Hmm. Okay, thank you for that. It's really quite simple, actually. In fact, it's so simple it looks difficult. I am positioned to earn 7 to 8 streams of income in the world of travel. And what that simply looks like is, some people say it's a bad word, but multi-level marketing. I help position people on the money making side of travel. I show them how simply living their best life, building their own best life, they monetize what it is to be a part of the travel industry. Inside of every booking, inside of every travel guru, inside of every vendor, Royal Caribbean, Carnival Cruise, et cetera, They build in commissions because they don't want to pay out of their inventory, their monies, people who may book the travels. So I help people position themselves to make up to 70% of the commission that's built into anything that they may book for a client themselves, friends, families, whether it's group trips, whether it's cruises, trains, planes, excursions, it doesn't matter. Everything. They make up to 70% commission. That's the fun time money. That's the go to the salon money. Then I
Got it.
show them how to
Nails,
position
nails, nails,
themselves.
nails, nails, nails. Okay, did I say that? Okay, keep going.
Yes, you did and said it out loud. Well, thank you. Then I share with them how they're able to build an empire, an organization of like minded people who want to do the exact same thing, earn a bag, pack a bag, and save a bag in the world of travel, earn a residual income simply by helping others position themselves, showing them how to build their best lives. This is a relationship building business. It is a solid business. It is backed up by every major tourist industry. It is backed up by Forbes magazine. It is backed up by the IRS. We are Homeland Security certified. And what you do as a woman, you position all those you love and your enemies to make and build their best lives while you build residual income that is allowed to be willed to your family. So, in the event of your death with my company, once you've built your organization to 100 people, which it does happen, I'm very short from that mark, but I'm very close. The company sends you that letter from the attorneys that states you now have a legacy business that in the event of your death, all 7 to 8 streams of your income will continue to be paid to your heirs. Then they get to will it to their heirs, and it begins. It's generational wealth. You break generational curses, all in something that people do anyway.
Excellent, excellent. And see, that's important for persons to navigate and see and feel, and to
Mhm.
know that. And I mean, I'm very grateful because there's been so much that you have guided myself and my business partners that I've been able to bring in, as I move and increase to be placed in a similar space, to be able to generate and highlight some of the work that is available, some of the opportunities that are available. So the persons, when when I say to them, I'm a travel business owner, they kind of look at me for a second, and I'm like, well, no, I'm not. I'm not suited. I haven't. I'm still getting the training to be a proficient travel professional, right? And it because it takes time, and being an educator in other areas and being involved in entrepreneurship in other areas, I'm really grateful for what I really, really am grateful for what you've shared with me, Sister Queen Storm,
Mhm.
because you've taken some time, and I need for the to say this publicly. The layer of passion and training that is afforded to our team here in the Virgin Islands by our illustrious Sister Queen Director in Training, Stormy Gordon, is impeccably exceptional. I need to say that because it's the passion, yes. It's the gentle reminder, sometimes a little more direct than usual, and that's fine because it helps to keep us stimulated and engaged on knowing what the potential is for these business streams of income, and that they are legitimate, and that they are vetted, and that they've got all types of Better Business Bureau certifications and all types of economic awards for positive streams of income that are on point. And it's not like a fishy piece to know that various economic development drivers in the US government congressional and otherwise, have afforded various awards for the founders of the businesses tied to these opportunities. Like you have taken a lot of time, and then each day it seems like there's something else that they have on our stream that we learn to make our
Mm.
business operations more efficient, where you can do things right on your cell phone or your tablet as well as your
Yes.
computers, and that you can be anywhere in the world, anywhere in the world. And I always highlight that in a minute, they will eventually get the internet to the planet. But in the meantime, while we're still going through internet service providers, wherever you have those access points, you have the
Mhm.
opportunity to generate wealth, to generate income, and to do it
Absolutely.
from the
And build amazing relationships, Dr. Chen. That's the basis. You know, I had one of my upline directors say to me once, people don't quit their jobs, they quit their employers.
hmm
So, and I took that to heart because I'm like, yeah, because I always loved my job, but man, the employers are working nerves. But, this is a relationship. They will. They work your nerves. Like,
You
look, I'm going to
already
go home.
know. I'm trying
Let
not
me
to say these things right now, but we know what I
let me
do.
let me just go home and be broke. Let me go home and eat soup for a week. I don't know. But the thing about this opportunity is it's a relationship building opportunity. You get to meet people worldly. Queen Mother Chinzera, I mean, I thank you, part of my organization, because of you. We got a team in Jamaica. Jamaica just introduced growing their team in Miami. But I myself have a team I have a person in Belize, I have someone in the Dominican Republic, I have St. Thomas, St. Croix, I have my home state of Pittsburgh, North Carolina, South Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Killeen, Texas. This is an international opportunity. You are not barred from, and so this is a business you build no matter where you're at from your phone
Exactly.
at any time. That's what the pandemic served up. It served up a business that while you're sitting at home, while you're sitting at the beach, while you're sitting in Bali, you
Rub it
can
in.
work your business.
Rub it
I'm
in.
gonna rub it in,
Rub it
rub it
in.
in. And but what I really, the most important part of this is though, this is something that the world does. This isn't a get expired kind of gimmick. This isn't, lotions and potions, tricks and gimmicks. This isn't something that is in fashion this year, out of fashion that year. People do it this year. People are going to travel
Right.
until the Lord comes home,
That's right.
which means there's going to be money to be made. And why not be on the inside of that? Why not be the merchant? Because it don't always feel good being the customer, does it, Dr. Chen? We need to fly off this island to go 2 islands up and it costs you $1,000. Does
That's
that
right.
make sense?
That's right. That's right.
No. So, just learning to turn what is your lemons into lemonade, and enjoying living your best life by being able to live. Your employers, they don't allow you and pay you to live your best life. They pay you long enough to live, to come back and work every 40 hours, every week, week in, week out. I bring in personally 6 paychecks a month simply because I'm building an organization of people who love travel, love helping others, who love travel. I don't feel bad about that at all. And I used to tell people, Dr. Chen, I said, sure, you come into the doctor's office and you allowed me to cause you bodily harm, pain, digging them needles in your arms, twisting that arm and finding out what really hurts, if it's really broke. You paid me to do that. I'm asking you to lock arms with us, just lock arms with an entrepreneur who can show you how to build your best life, simply because you're living your life. That's entrepreneurship, I believe, is when You benefit from helping others, not taking. I want to be the one who gives the hand up and not the handouts. I don't want to be the one who has to lend you money because you can't pay your bills. I want to be the one to show you how to build residuals so your bills get paid on auto. I want people to be able to live their best lives because I've watched people work real hard and get told, sorry, you ain't gonna be able to pay your bills. We got to cut your hours. We got to close down because somebody coughed. Don't want to see that happen again. So this is a home base, not homebound. And it's
Say
entrepreneurship.
that one again. Wait, say that one again. That was sweet. Say that again.
Home base.
Home base, not homebound. Oh wow. And she just froze on that one, but it's okay. We're going to keep it going, family, because this is a wonderful conversation, a wonderful opportunity. We've been joined with Sister Queen Stormy Gordon, entrepreneur, my business partner, and teacher of many, many different elements and skills. So we're going to take a really quick moment. I want to use this time while we're waiting for her signal to come back in to be able to share a couple of things in regard to persons that are interested in knowing a little bit more. You can easily email me at travelglobal365, just like it sounds, travelglobal365 at gmail.com. And there we can continue this conversation offline for more details, information. I will share my website towards the end of tonight's broadcast. I believe that you're back. Are you back with us, Sister?
Yes, ma'am. I hope so. Can
Yeah,
you hear
great.
me?
Yeah, we hear you well. We hear you well. Right, because what I was doing while I was sitting here was just making sure that I can share with some of our colleagues and some of the persons that are tuning in, listening to what we do. There's so many different ways for you to hear these broadcasts. This is why we encourage, and this is usually shared by our admin, Sister Queen Angela Smith Thomas. I think that it's important. Let's just keep tuning into the Crew podcast because these broadcasts are 8 p.m. Eastern every night, and there's some amazing guests that really touch on things that affect Black and Brown America. You can tune in on Linktree, or at least follow on Linktree, and just look for DACREWPODCAST. Of course, on Facebook, where we're sharing this live stream now on the Crew Podcast, DACREWPODCAST. You see the same vibe on you can listen on iHeartRadio. There are replays on YouTube, and in that network we can always share more, and you can just look for the Crew Podcast. And then there's a lot in terms of knowing some of the highlights, some of the things that you can look for. And if you're not sure on where to find any of this, again, you can go to send me an email, travelglobal365 at gmail.com. And for those that want to know more about Oz Speaks, building a new legacy, and you can go to Oz Speaks on YouTube, ASTSPEAKS, right? Just Google us. You can search. You'll find some of the videos that we do put forward. Some of these content from the Crew podcast will also be shared, and it gives you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about these multiple streams of income that we have access to be able to take care of ourselves and our families in the way that we most desire. So, Sister Queen Stormy, I think that, it's real difficult. You see how fast the hour goes, right? It goes pretty fast. And I'm really grateful for you being able to share your narrative, your story, your journey in such a loving and powerful way. And I would love to give you some more moments and times of reflections to share any other messages, any other ideas that you would like to share with our viewing and listening audience.
You know, I say, you know, what's most important, uh, Dr. Chen, is that when life is happening, it's okay to grab onto something that allows you to advance yourself. And when you find that something, which normally is going to be an entrepreneurship because your boss isn't going to let you be, miserable or happy or. But entrepreneurship, I have learned, means a whole lot more than just owning a business. You learn self worth. And as a woman, that is so important. You learn structure. You learn being able to master duplication. You learn how to work a calendar. I mean, we only have 24 hours, and there's always people who says, oh my gosh, I just need more time. Guess what? You're not going to get it. You have 24 hours in a day, every day. That's never going to change. And as a woman, we do more in a few hours than our counterparts do in a week. We're able to do it all. I think when we learn to support each other, to advance each other, to lift each other, even when we don't like each other, even when we disagree, supporting a woman today may be the generation that supports your loved ones in the future. The woman I may not like today may be the matriarch of a woman who will take care of my family one day. So I say, women uplifting women, empowering women, doing it through the world of entrepreneurship where we're in charge and don't have to answer to an employer who's going to make sure you need them and only them. That's what I want to leave your guest with. If you ever have someone share an opportunity, don't second guess and belittle what you were meant to have, which was to be the lender, not the borrower, the head, not the tail. Go with it. Don't question it. Because the only way you fail is to never try or quit.
Here, here. Carry on. Oh, I'm just making sure that the people in the back. Thank you again. It is with a very powerful sense of gratitude for you to be so honest and direct and clear on what has been part of your journey, because we know there's the part two, three, four, five to 1,000. Because there's some other elements, and don't get her to start to talking about when she starts to sing. We'll kind of come back to that. I think next time I'm gonna have to drop some excerpts from when she's singing with the choir. I'm just saying, those in the back, right? It's really beautiful to be able to have you share the variety of and the wealth of knowledge and care and compassion that you have for building a business that has not only helped you to heal and grow and prosper and embrace thriving in the midst of what appears to be complete chaos and distractions, but to be able to share that and to share it passionately and professionally, and being able to teach us how to leverage what we are doing actually indeed for ourselves. And with that, I'm very, very grateful. I'm hoping that those that are listening, those that are viewing, are able to embrace a little. We know we said quite a few things. People might want to say, well, what's the this? What's the. If you're interested, We would easily share with you some information as I've expressed. Travel Global 365 at gmail.com is one way to send your email if you're interested in knowing about some of the various business opportunities with multiple streams of income, as have been shared by our illustrious guest, Sister Queen Stormy Gordon. And I can only speak as I get ready to celebrate my second anniversary. It really hit me the other day that my second year anniversary is going to be on November 26th. And I think it's amazing because it's been a powerful journey. I've learned a lot. I've gained quite a bit. And those that know, I am Travel Global 360. I'm working on getting more. I have a little shy of 80 plus countries to still tap out of the 193 we talk about. And I think it's really important for us to embrace the greatness that comes with that and some of the opportunities. I would have asked earlier, and I've just took a moment for us to just take a second of reflection here in the Virgin Islands. We have some observances in honor of not only women, but of great historical icons of the Virgin Islands, what was then the Danish West Indies. In 1733, on November 23rd, led by a woman, Queen Brethyn, there was an African revolution on the Isle of St. John, what we now call St. John. And that African revolution, led by first generation Africans coming on that enslavement trafficking, not trade, that enslavement trafficking journey, right? Those women and those men, some of them from royal stock and warriors in their own rights, coming from Central, South, as well as West Africa. We need to make sure we get the history clear. Led a revolution that kept the Isle of St. John at one of its heights of colonization as a free African island nation intended for more than 7 months, from November 23rd, 1733 until May 24th, 1734. So we have a legislative policy proclamation to some, but legislation has been in place for decades as November 23rd is marked as Virgin Islands Freedom Fighters Day. So we want to just take a moment to just give honor to those ancestors, those great heroes, sheroes. And when we keep it moving on an international level, from very humble yet powerful beginnings, and of all islands, the Dominican Republic, four women and many men as well. But the Mirabel sisters, if you don't know about them, Google Mirabel sisters of the Dominican Republic. And these women were fighting for the human rights of people in the Dominican Republic and Haiti in the 1950s against a very brutal dictator that people just refer to as Trujillo, the dictator. And in 1916, on November 25th, those women were not only dragged out of their transport, going to visit their husbands, two of their husbands rather, two of the sisters' husbands. They were in prison for supporting human rights for the people of the island of the República Dominicana, as well as Haiti, the entire island. And these women were dragged out of their vehicles, beaten to death, put back in the vehicle, and tossed over to make it look like it was an accidental cause of death. And because of that, the people in the Dominican Republic rose up, and ultimately it was led to the execution, assassination to some, of this dictator, very brutal. And on November 25th, the, it is now designated since the 90s as the United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. So when you see that hashtag no excuse, think about November 25th, 1960. But just in general, let us honor and observe this International Day for the elimination of violence against women anywhere on earth. So, with that, again, I thank you, Sister Queen Stormy. I feel like we got a lot completed and we're right on the top of our hour. I want to thank everyone that's tuned in, listened. Again, Travel Global 365 at Gmail. If you want to know more about the business, Speaks, ASTSPEAKS, at gmail.com if you'd like to join us, tune in if you have ideas for the broadcast. Because what we focus on is that we know that culture heals humanity, land is our foundation, and spiritual harmony unifies us. So just keep doing your part whenever you hear I Speaks, because that means that you're a part of building legacy. And with that, I say a blessed evening. I'm really grateful. And let's keep moving our purpose forward. Good night.
Good night.
Freedom. We need freedom. Oh, yes, I want freedom. I want freedom. Have a purpose in all you do. Just make sure that your purpose is true. Have a purpose in this here life, so your life ain't fall astray. I live a purpose each and every day, so we can live in Yahweh. I have a purpose in all you do. Just make sure your life is true. Every time we walk on the street, we see all the children crying. Every time we see our day, it seems like people are lying. Everywhere that we see on this earth is supposed to be about the birth, but it's all death. And now we have a world of confusion.